what is the terms of trade in a business? At times it is because of the culture, but at times it is about the strength of the businesses. So we did this study. The businesses where profitability is high and terms of trade is favorable, you end up making tons of money. Look at Hero Honda. You know, in 1996, when we bought the product, when we bought the company, at that point of time, there was acute shortage of motorcycles. There was a premium of 3,000, 3,500 rupees for you to buy on a spot. Otherwise, you have to wait for 15 days, a month, or whatever. So the terms of trade was seller's market. They could get away with anything. Today, if you want to buy a bike, you know what happens? They give you loan, they give you discount. If you ask for one, they'll give you tens of motorcycle. So the whole term has changed. You have to look at the terms of trade today. Between even within the two-wheeler segment, Eicher has a different terms of trade than Hero Honda. In Eicher, you can't get the terms today as you can get in Hero. So terms of trade for Eicher today is very different. You have a 3 months to 6 months waiting list. Whereas in Hero, you have a 3 months inventory lying in their godowns. So that's the basic difference. So you have to look at the businesses which have terms of trade in your favor at the time of purchase. Then I think one of the best studies, then the studies started becoming better. You know, we started learning how to do it, and then we did, till about 2007, we're doing the side part of it, the specialist part of it used to be very small. From 2007 onwards, the thing started taking a very serious shape. So we did one study called India, the Next Trillion Dollar Opportunity. In 2007, what happened was that the Indian GDP was at about 45 lakh crores. And the rupee dollar parity came down from 45 to 42. So suddenly we got into trillion dollar club for that particular year. Then we said, let's study this particular phenomenon and what is the significance of this? Because we were about 12th or 13th economy to enter the trillion dollar club. And what is the experience of China? China became $1 trillion in 1998. Nobody knew what China is. Today, everywhere it is China. And that is what exactly is the opportunity for India. What happens is that when you grow to $1,000 per capita, your discretionary spend is very thin. But when you go from 1,000 to 2,000, your discretionary spend go almost 10x. So what is a linear GDP growth is an exponential business opportunity. So you have to position your portfolio into the companies where this exponential growth is going to happen, because market is not pricing it. So that was one of the, I would think, in top 2-3 wealth creation studies out of 19, it is one of the best and relevant even today. As relevant, probably more relevant today, because at that point of time, market was at a high. 2007-8, market was running high. I was thinking market is able to see this next trillion dollar opportunity. But it was actually a Lehman credit bubble, and it got burst. But the fact remains that we are looking at next trillion, third trillion will come by 2017 or 18 or maybe 19, in just 5 years. The last one came in 6 years. So we are at the cusp of a massive discretionary spend boom. And that's why all the stocks which are going to cater to the discretionary spend in India and has a monopolistic position, they are very, very expensive. They're almost double of what should be the normal P multiple. If it should be 30 P multiple, they're at 55, 60, 65. Because they're expecting this bull run to happen in discretionary spend. Then the next study we did was, again in 2008, Buffett wrote, what are the 3 types of businesses? I think this is the best piece written by him in annual reports. In 2007 annual reports, page 6 and 7, if you go, he has written what kind of companies he likes and what are the traits he looks for in those companies. And he termed it, there are only 3 types of businesses in the world: great, good, gruesome. And these are like 3 savings bank account. Savings bank account where you put your money at a high yield, say 20% interest somebody is giving. So that's a very good return. If you are getting your business earning 20%, it's very good. So that's a good company. It's not a great company. Great company is a company where you put 100 rupees, he gives it 20% first year, second year it gives 25%, third year gives 35%, then 40%, then 50%, 100%, 150%. You look at Nestle. Nestle in 2001-2, it used to earn about 25% return on equity. By the time it was 2011, it was 135%. You go and see how it has improved year after year. That's what makes Nestle a special company. So, rising ROE. So, great and good was very clearly understood. What is a gruesome? The real challenge for the investor in the market is to throw out gruesome businesses. Now, what is gruesome? A bad business. A bad business is a business which actually breaks the capital. If the cost of capital is 10%, it earns 5-6%, or actually it incurs loss. But even that is not a problem, because it could be just a historical thing. It could be misfortune of the business that it is not doing well. But the problem is the management is mandated to grow the business, which is very bad business. So what happens is you are earning 100 crores by deploying, say, 2,000 crores. Now you want to double the profit from 100 crores to 200 crores. What do you need? Another 2,000 crores. To earn 100 crores, you need 2,000 crores more. So it becomes a bottomless pit of capital. And everybody gets sucked in, because these companies are available very cheap. And most of the retail guys, they get sucked into buying these stocks. And they stay on, because they're not making losses. Return on equity is very low. Valuation is very cheap. What more you want? You're buying cheap. You can't go wrong. But it doesn't make money, because the company itself is not making money. One other thing is, I don't know if anybody knows how much money you make in the market. From a stock, how much money you make finally? You make as much as the company makes. Please understand this. If company is not listed, you start with a crore rupees company and you make 1,000 crores over a period of time. At the end of it, you'll get 1,000 crores, period. So you cannot make more money than what the company makes. People think that they can make more money than what the company makes. And that's why they don't bother about what the company is doing. They bother about what's happening in the stock market. So fundamentally, we have to understand, we have to buy great businesses who are going to make a lot of money, not only now, in next 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years. And that's what we do. And that's what has, this particular study, if you see, we gave an example of Nestle as the great company, HDFC Bank as a good bank, good company, and I hope there is nobody from Tata's, Tata Tele Maharashtra Limited as the bad company. When I wrote as a bad company, Tata Tele Maharashtra Limited, it was making losses of 60 crores per quarter. Do you know how much losses they are making now? After 7-8 years. They are making very faithfully, every quarter they make a loss of 165 crores per quarter. They have lost about 12, 13, 14,000 crores. They are still losing. And now they want to expand. They want to put another 10, 20,000 crores to expand the losses. And we still have a quotation of 7, 10, 12 rupees because it is called Tata Tele. You can't go wrong buying telecom company from Tata's, isn't it? So you have to be very clear who is going to make money. Just the name doesn't matter. So difference between, in fact, you should pay to the manager for just getting you into the good companies, good and great companies, and keeping you out from the bad company. 99% of the problem in the stock market is because of the bad companies in your portfolio. And they enter your portfolio purely because they are cheap. And then they come and stay permanently and destroy your entire happiness.